Now that we have our for loops down pat, we're going to go on to our while loops. And here we have a for loop just as a little bit of review to walk through how it works. So you have your for I in range, and our for loop is just like a counter. Whatever I have in here, that's how many times it's going to go through that loop, right? So here it's going to print out our 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have our 10 numbers there. If I increment this to 11, we'll get to our 10 right there. Okay, so this number right here is how many iterations that we go through our for loop. How a while loop is a little bit different is we have to set a variable. So I'll still use I for this. So I'm going to put I is going to equal to 0. And a while loop, instead of just being a counter, it waits until a condition is true, which is really nice because we don't need to just have numbers. We can use other variables as well. So we have I is equal to 0 while I is less than a number that we have. We'll say 10 in this case. Then what we'll do is we'll print I. Now, this next part is super important. If I were to just run this, it would keep on going and going and going until I crash out of memory. And it'll happen pretty soon. But you'll see that I have all these zeros. It's printing 0 and 0 and 0 because I never increments. Let me stop this. There we go. If I want to have this print through that 10th iteration, what I need to do is I need to increment. So I is plus equal to 1. Now remember, your I plus equal to 1 is the exact same thing as if I would do I equals I plus 1. This is just a little shorthand. So I'm adding 1 to I every time that I go through this while loop. So some problems that we can have with that is if we have while is equal to a number. So I'll say, let's say if we put I starts at 10 and while I is equal to 0, we want to print I. If we run this, it's not going to run because I is equal to 10. It's never going to run because I is never equal to 0. Another thing that we can use this for is we can run this as a break for our game. So instead of using the number for a variable, like we had I equaling an integer, I'm just going to use done. It's just a variable, and we're going to call it false. And while not done, so that means that, remember, not is one of our Boolean statements. So while not done, so while done is equal to false, what you're going to do is we'll say print you can still play. And if I run this, it's going to keep on printing off you can still play indefinitely. But if I change done to true and we run this, it won't run at all because done is equal to true rather than being equal to false.